Hi, disciple. This is Dred Sue, and on my channel, I talk about God, His Son, His love for us, His Son coming back. But today, I want to talk about the centurion Cornelius. Cornelius was a centurion, and a centurion are one from the Italian regiment. So he was like a commander, probably over maybe I would say 100 soldiers. He was over a lot of soldiers, and so what amazing with this centurion Cornelius, he was always praying. Even though he was a commander, he was always praying and fasting. So Cornelius and his family, because he was a Roman centurion, so that means he was a Gentiles. He and his whole soul was a Gentiles. So those who are not Jewish are Gentiles. So he was constantly praying to God, and in Acts 10:46, we learn of Cornelius, his devotion, and how he was devoted. So one day Cornelius, he got a vision. He was I believe he was in Caesarea, and he got a vision, and he sent messenger to get Peter, because Peter was in Joppa. So Joppa probably was a neighboring town, or probably within the same city. But Peter was in Joppa, and Cornelius was in Caesarea. And so the two cities probably, two towns probably close together. But anyway, he sent messengers to get Peter, and so Peter came. Also, within that same time, Peter got a vision from God also. But we're focusing on Cornelius. And Peter came, he talked to Cornelius and his household. And, Peter understand what he wanted, because he wanted his family to be, he wanted to have salvation. He wanted his family to have salvation. So his ultimate interest was, to get salvation for himself and his household. Because he was praying so many times, so many days to God. So God finally answered Cornelius' prayer, and this goes to show that God answers our prayer in God's time. Not, when we want it, but in God's time, when God feel like answering our prayer. Sometimes he answers it right away. Sometimes it takes months and years for God to answer our prayer. So Cornelius was very prayerful. His household was devoted to God. And now he wants Peter to come and talk to him, to learn of the gospel, to learn what is this gospel thing about. What is all these things we read? Because as a Roman, Cornelius was a Roman, they probably would be worshiping pagan gods. It was all about paganism. So Cornelius, he was different. Even though he was a commander, he had that little rank as a centurion. His household animal was very prayerful. They were, I would say, God-fearing people. Yeah, they were God-fearing people. And so now that he learned, and he was baptized by Peter, so now they were speaking in tongues and praising God and in extolling God. They were preaching in tongues and praising God. So it goes to show my disciples that no matter who you are, where you are, once you seek, you will find. Because that's exactly what Cornelius was doing. He was seeking God. He was praying, talking to God, and he was seeking God. He summoned Peter to get all the information. So Cornelius was the first Gentile, I believe, that accepted Christ, he and his entire household. So as a Gentile, so he was the first Gentile, I believe, that accepted Christ. So Cornelius' greatest and deepest devotion was to get salvation. That's what he wanted. He wanted to get salvation. And he wanted salvation for himself and his entire household. So it goes to show that as Acts 10:46, tells us that when you seek God, when you pray to God, when you devote yourself to God, God hears your cry. God hears your call, just like he was doing for the Israelite, those people in Israel. That's like he was doing for the children of the Israelite. They were calling upon God all the time, crying to God, and God was answering their prayer. But as soon as God answered their prayer, they on their merry way, going back to worshiping false God and doing what they wanted to do. But in Cornelius' case, he wants to know, what is this salvation thing about? What is this salvation thing about? I want to understand it more. So he was praying devotedly to God constantly. Finally God said, okay, Cornelius, I hear your calling, I hear your prayers, and I saw you all the time fasting and praying to me. So I'm going to answer your calling today. So that's exactly what God does. He answered Cornelius' calling. Peter came, they baptized. Cornelius was speaking in tongue, extolling God, he and his family. So when we seek, we shall find, as the Bible said. When we knock, the door will open. So salvation is there for us, my fellow disciples. Everyone, salvation is there for us, and it's only for us to seek, so we shall find, and knock, so the door shall open. So God opened the door for Cornelius. So now Cornelius has salvation, and he is rejoicing. But what amazing with Cornelius, before Peter even came to Cornelius, before Cornelius even get that vision or the angel from the angel, Cornelius was a loving, caring, devoted person. He was a heart-giving person. And amazing, he was a Roman, and he was a commander, but he was very sympathetic to the Jewish people. He was. Yes, he was. He was a very kind person. He has a good heart, a loving, caring person to the Jewish person, to those that, were under his command or were in his area and close to him. He was talking to them. He was giving alms to charity. He was doing charity work and giving to people. He was a very kind man. So you could see why he was calling upon God and talking to God and fearing God, because he has a good heart even before he was baptized. He has a good heart even before he was baptized, my disciple. So God allow him to get salvation. Not all of us gonna get salvation, because we have bad heart. We have bad heart. So we not gonna seek to find. Oh yeah, some of us, we have millions of us, we have bad heart. So until then, my disciple, I just want to say, let us learn to clear our heart so God can come in. God can answer our prayer. And let us seek, so we shall find, and let us knock, so the door shall open. Let us not be like everyone else, because as you can see and you can look around, the time is drawing nigh. The time is drawing nigh. And Jesus already told us in Matthew, look up when you see all these things. started seeking, started looking, because the door will be open if you knock, if you seek and you knock. So until then, my disciple, I just want to say, God first, man second. God first, man second. So thank you. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. So whenever I upload anything new, you'll be the first to get it. So thank you and God bless.